Welcome back to the home of the universal basics, the people's basics. It's time for another episode of the Basic Brief. In today's episode, as always, we will be talking about our top story in this week's Basic Brief article, as well as answering questions from you, the audience. That being said, before we get into today's subject, we want to remind you all, please subscribe so that you're notified of all new videos, and check the description section so that you find out how to join our community through Linktree. That being said, Matthew, what is today's top story?
Yeah, John. For this week's top story, we're going to head down to Texas, where Governor Abbott just signed a new executive order that bans all businesses in his state from doing any sort of vaccine mandate in the state of Texas. And I think this is important to highlight because the vaccine mandates is kind of the hot story in the country right now. With the struggle of how do we get people to get vaccinated, how do we get our numbers up, and is a vaccine mandate right or wrong? And I think if you support choice, that's one thing, but is this really supporting choice here in the state of Texas when you're banning all business from even having the option of doing the vaccine mandate? I don't really think so. It's kind of like the same thing they're doing on the other side, like saying, oh, you're giving people no choice, you're forcing them, and you're forcing a lot of these businesses not to have the option that if they personally want to have their business have vaccine mandates, they don't have that option now. And it's also important to note that for the businesses in Texas that rely on federal workers, this is going to put them in a really bind because of the federal vaccine mandate. So it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It really goes against what the Republican Party claims they are against, which is individual liberty, small government. And this is really just not that at all.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree that it does feel sometimes hypocritical when people decry big government mandating things on people. The idea of banning mandates is a mandate in itself. It's saying to individual business owners and localities within a state, you cannot make the choice for your own area how you want to protect it. I think in this case, the idea of banning outright, the idea of having some level of ability to say, I want my business to be a place that has everyone vaccinated in it, doesn't make sense at all to me on a civil liberty or just pro-choice level. This is something that the Republican Party loves to claim they are, having choice, but they are taking it away in so many areas. It's not just this one area. This is obviously the most recent thing in Texas, but we've been talking about this in so many other regards as well when it came to the abortion story that we had previously covered in past weeks, with them having the idea of you not having the right over your own body and having that choice of what you want to be doing there. They don't want you to have the choice of being a local education system and saying, we want to teach about some of the historical discrimination in our country and how it was institutionalized, this white supremacist notion, and how we've been trying to transform our country into a better place since then. But we have not fully completed getting out all of these institutional biases. They want to ban that form of education. And so I ask people, why do we have this association with just choice for the Republican Party? Do I have this choice to be safe going out when I have the notion of people who are potentially unvaccinated and having a higher caseload if I am someone who has pre-existing conditions that prevent them from being able to receive a vaccine? I feel like my choice is being limited in those regards. And so I don't support the notion of having a mandate across the board. But I also don't support this idea of having a mandate banning anyone from being able to choose that for their own establishment and locality. So yeah, that's what I got to say for the Texas Republicans. They are very anti-choice right now. Matthew, do you have any final thoughts on that story?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I do agree with you that I don't agree with a totally across the board mandate, but it's true the Texas Republicans have really shown their anti-choice colors lately, and it's really weird to me that this stigma doesn't get attached to the GOP of being anti-individual liberty and anti-choice.
So let's talk about what the fans wanted to know this week from us. We got our questions from you, the audience, each week, and we want to remind you all that you can send us your questions if you want them answered by going through that link tree, and you will find the submission portal for you to send a question like Dennis from Pennsylvania did this week. He asked us, What do you see as the biggest races to focus on in 2022? Matthew, what are you thinking is the biggest races to focus on in 2022?
One of the races I will be focusing on the most in 2022 is Alan Ellison running for Senate against Marco Rubio here in Florida. He is one of our endorsed candidates here at the People's Basics. And I think Alan Ellison, he's a really great guy. He's really good at engaging with his supporters and the community on the ground. And I think a lot of people don't realize that Democrats are playable in Florida. If you like, people view Ron DeSantis as this unbeatable entity. Well, he only won by less than 1% in the governor's race a couple of years ago. So Democrats can win in Florida. It's just that the Democratic Party has not been serious here for a while. So I think it's really important if we showed Alan a lot of support. I think he does have a chance to take down Rubio, and he's a great candidate. He supports Green New Deal. He supports universal basic income, universal health care, all great stuff. So I hope to see him do well.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Alan as well. We've obviously gotten to interview him on the program in the past as well. You know, I just have to say there's a lot of races going on. Like in Florida, there's two races that are big in 2022. You mentioned both the governor's race as well as the Senate race. So you got Alan going against Marco Rubio, and then you got whoever the Democrat is going to be to take on DeSantis. Those are both big races. So I'm glad you got to highlight a federal and a state level race. I would say for myself, another candidate we've interviewed on the program and endorsed as a network is Erica Smith. She is a great candidate as well. I've gotten to speak at her events where she is a true champion of universal basic income. This is something that we know she is going to be championing for all Americans, truly universal. She understands that principle. And she is someone with experience in her area who has been able to build up a coalition that can actually be able to win, because that's going to be a big factor as well. North Carolina is a district that we need to win, and we need to start from the grassroots level. So I think she is someone very capable of doing that with her experience, as well as a very bold, progressive platform with UBI at the center of it. As well, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the last candidate our network has also endorsed and are going to be focusing a lot on, which is Charles Booker. Charles Booker is someone we haven't interviewed yet, so you may not know him, but he has run in the past, so he's probably a little bit more of a popular figure than the other two. And he is looking to run in Kentucky. And so he is looking to challenge Rand Paul in 2022 after he fell short in the primary last year to Amy McGrath by so very little. And it was such a big fundraising gap. So I think he can do a lot of good work this year now that he has a much higher profile name recognition wise and the infrastructure already built up for his team. So I'm really looking forward to supporting those three candidates. Matthew, you got any final thoughts to share with the audience today?
Yeah, I'm excited to see how Booker does, because in his last race he peaked just a smidge too late, and I think if the voting was a week later, he probably would have won that primary. But all three of those are tremendous candidates. There's a lot of important races. 2022 is going to be a very big year, so we got to make sure we are ready.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I think, frankly, the big focus for honestly a fair deal of time, because I'm a little bit pessimistic on the 2024 relevancy, like of getting involved in the presidential race. I think for a while we're going to just be focusing on the Senate and state and local races. So I think it's really important that we all get involved with these great big candidates in the Senate. That way we can actually have real champions of universal basic income and universal basic services in the Senate, where we do not have nearly enough champions currently. So that's going to do it for us here at the People's Basic. This has been another episode of the Basic Brief. We hope you all are subscribed so that you're notified about new content. As you got notified, we are having a Basic Brief every single Friday. So make sure that you tune in every Friday to get these videos. As well, we want to encourage you all to become a member to support us here at the People's Basics, as well as gaining access to premium, behind the scenes, and archive content that we've developed over time. And then finally, again, as a reminder, join us in our community. You'll find all the links in our link tree in the description section below. This is going to conclude another episode from the home of the Universal Basics, the People's Basics. See you all soon.